What's up, everybody? Tindo here, and with me, I've got Hannah Potter, who lives under the stairs. And we have just gotten home, back to our home state of Phoenix. And thank you so much to all you guys who have followed us on this huge trip we've taken cross country, thrifting all the way. Well, guess what, guys? We filmed so much footage while we were gone, we still have enough for 3 more episodes, counting this one. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, so that when we post the next 2 videos of this trip and we wrap it all up, you'll be able to get those notifications and come back and watch those then. But guys, today we actually went to another Goodwill Bins. And if you watched yesterday's episode, you know that we went to another Goodwill Bins that we've never been to on the channel. Today is no different. Where's today's Goodwill Bins at?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis, Tennessee. And what was it called?
The Bargain Barn.
The Goodwill Bargain Barn. And this is a really interesting stop, guys, because we put Goodwill Bins in the GPS and it told us to go here. This is where we're going, and we got there, and there was no Goodwill Bins to be seen whatsoever. And we shopped, and actually, it was just a regular Goodwill to the best of our knowledge, and we bought a big stack of games. I was super happy. It was one of the best stops on the whole trip. But right before we were about to leave, Hannah asked the lady that was checking us out, "Hey, where's the Goodwill Bins in this town?" And she didn't really know what we were talking about. And she goes, "Do you mean the Bargain Barn? Is that what it's called? The Bargain Barn?" And we were like, "Oh, yeah, sure, that. Where's that at?" She's like, "Oh, just drive around the side. It's around back." So this Goodwill Bins is a Goodwill Bins that's attached to a regular Goodwill, and it's on the back side. It's really strange. This is actually, it's not the first time I've seen a Goodwill Bins attached to a regular Goodwill, but it was the first time I ever saw that, and it wasn't immediately obvious that there was a couple different entrances. It was the first time we almost missed one, for sure. But we did buy a bunch of stuff there, guys. I think it was one of my favorite stops on the trip. Definitely check this out. Today's Goodwill Bins is a very interesting one. I want you to take a look at this sign from the street. There's no signifier of anything other than a normal Goodwill. Here's the front of the Goodwill. You drive by it. Oh, this looks normal. There's a donation center canopy on the side. That's pretty normal. But you wouldn't know that there is another section of this Goodwill on the back of the building unless you drove around there. Goodwill Bargain Barn. There's no sign on the street that says that, nothing. But we came to this Goodwill because the GPS said that this was a Goodwill Bins. And then we went inside and it was a normal Goodwill, and we looked around and we did buy some stuff. We bought some pretty good games. But we were about to leave and finally asked around, "Hey, where's the Goodwill Bins at?" And they said, "Oh, it's just around back." So it's very interesting to me. I'm not sure why they wouldn't want to advertise it more. I don't know. Maybe they don't want so many people coming to it, because it is a rather small Goodwill Bins, as Goodwill Bins go, as you'll see here in a minute. But right now, let's talk about the stuff that we bought in the regular part of this Goodwill. There were so many good games in this lockbox that I did not know what to do with myself. However, this Goodwill was especially busy, so I had quite a hard time getting an employee to come over and let me look at all these video games. So I'm going to do what I usually do in a situation like this. I'm going to go check out the rest of the store and make sure there's no video games back there, and then I'll come back to check out and maybe have the cash register person let me in the lockbox. I don't know. I know there's a lot of stuff in there I want to buy, but I also know that because there's so many video games in there that I'm not likely to find a single one in the rest of the store. When they go that hard at putting video games in a lockbox, it usually means they probably have a problem with theft, and they're worried about people taking the games out of the cases in the back and walking out with them in their pocket. So I am going to go check the DVD section, and there's nothing here but DVDs. Just lots of DVDs, not even a particularly large section of DVDs. And then, of course, I'm going to go ahead and check the CDs to make sure there's no PlayStation 1 games in there. You just never know. Sometimes I miss those. Sometimes I find them. But I'm more interested in those games in the lockbox right now. I need to get back up there, because if someone else comes up there and starts buying those before I do, I will cry. I will cry crocodile tears. The rest of this store is pretty interesting. It's one of the few Goodwills I've seen that have CRT TVs for sale. In Phoenix, they don't even allow you to donate these CRT TVs because they can't get rid of them. But there's quite a few here on the shelves. Some people like seeing this. Some people are very nostalgic for their CRT TVs. I know I am, and I know I had a hard time finding one when I wanted to get one for my game room, because Goodwills here were not selling them, and people that are selling them on like Craigslist and stuff are selling them for quite a bit. Now look at this stack of games. That is a big stack of great video games, and you guys definitely stick around to the end to see what those games were. But first, we're going to run back here to this bargain barn and see if we can't find a few more video games, or maybe Hannah will find some clothes. I don't know, and I really don't know what to expect, because you never know what you're going to expect when you walk into a brand new Goodwill bins. And right off the bat, my observations are this. This is probably the smallest Goodwill bins that I've been in. It's hard to tell. There's this really small Goodwill bins in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it definitely is really close to being as small as this one, if not smaller. But man, this is small. If you've watched any of my videos where I go to Goodwill bins, you definitely probably know that like the bins in Phoenix where we frequent is huge. It is like the size of a Walmart, but this one is small. But that's all right. That means it's not going to take so long for us to dig through everything here, which is good, because we need to get on the road. We're already several hours behind when we planned on being back home in Phoenix. We got a long way to drive. But I'm finding Nerf stuff right off the bat. I picked up one Nerf gun, and someone was nice enough to hand me one that was over closer to them. And I found a few more Nerf parts. Hannah's over here digging. She already has an armful. And something happened really quickly here without me noticing. All these people are digging through brand new bins of stuff that were just wheeled out. And I'm very used to a very specific way in which our Goodwill bins back home wheels these kinds of things out. And so when they just kind of brought out some carts and everybody jumped in them, I turned around and was like, well, missed that one. And sure enough, there was a guy who grabbed an entire bin full of DVDs. I couldn't really tell if there were any video games in there, but I do know that if there were video games in this bins on this day, he probably got them. These people are lined up in these yellow lines waiting for new bins to be pushed in. This is another one of those things that I'm super not used to, because they certainly don't do this at my home Goodwill bins. And also the last stop we made at a Goodwill bins, they did this very same kind of thing. People lined up and waited, but they didn't so much have very distinct lines drawn on the floor for those sections, the sections to stand in and the sections the bins are going to go in. So this is interesting to see. Just more new information for you in terms of shopping at Goodwill bins, more ways in which you'll find them to be different. I'm obsessed over those things. I love Goodwill bins so much, and I love how odd they often are. I love seeing these kinds of things. This is only the second one of the bins I've been to that I've seen implement this wall full of smaller bins. I've seen this up in Flagstaff, Arizona. They don't really wheel out many toys or household items at all that aren't in these little bins on the wall, and they just replace them from time to time. A guy will come around and dump all those bins into a big single large bin and roll them into the back, and then he'll roll back out with new small bins full of stuff and throw them up there on the shelf. And I didn't actually see anybody restocking these while I was here, but I have seen them do that at that one other Goodwill bins. So I dug through all of these just to make sure there wasn't any toys that I wanted, and I did come across a couple Mario toys that I wanted, so I'm glad that I dug through these. And here's perhaps one of the oddest things that I've seen at the bins in a little while. It is a big box full of paper towel and toilet paper rolls. I don't know if somebody just abandoned their Etsy project or what, but someone decided to donate those to the Goodwill, and I find that to be hilarious. Now, I was so thankful that that regular Goodwill was attached to this bins, because if it wasn't, this would have been the only game that I left with, a copy of Wii Active. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and buy that, but I'm just super glad at this moment that this was not everything I was going to leave with, because that would have been a bummer. Hannah's not doing quite as well as I am. She's dug around quite a bit. She does have a handful of stuff, but we've had a really good time at the last couple bins that we've stopped at, and she's not quite living up to that in her mind. But it's not a big deal. This was a really small bins. We couldn't expect much. This has to be probably one of the most interesting things that I saw at this bins. That sign behind the lady at the cash register is a huge list of rules, both in English and Spanish. I don't, to my memory, recall ever being at a Goodwill that had such a distinctive list of rules on the wall. You'll often see a sign here and there at a Goodwill that says no running, no this, no that, but that is an exhaustive list of rules there. And here's a closer look at that list of rules, and it's all pretty standard stuff. All sales are final, no running, no shoving, etc., etc. And I was really interested to see this because if there's one thing that's really hard to explain to people about the bins, it's some of the unwritten rules that you'll find there. And I don't really see any of those unwritten rules here. Like, there's some bins that you have to keep your cart covered with a blanket, or else employees there will have free reign to go throw your stuff back. You know, that's just one kind of minor random rule that some of them say that is a rule, but they don't enforce, and some don't. It's just, there's a lot of complications to the Goodwill bins, and I do wish that more of them had more of the rules displayed like this, because it really helps when you walk into a bins for the first time. It's good to know some of the rules, because you wouldn't otherwise know some of these. So let's talk about those prices before we go. This is pretty interesting to me. They have solid prices for their electronics rather than charging for them by weight like most Goodwill bins do. Now, this is interesting because like my home Goodwill bins in Phoenix, they do the same thing. Like if it's a TV or a monitor, it's $5, which is probably what they do here. And also smaller electronics, we're just going to charge a couple bucks for them. And if you find a cable or a wire you want, it's $1. If you want to buy an HDMI cable, that's $1. And so this is interesting because though that is mostly the case at a lot of Goodwill bins, I've actually never seen one list those separate large, small electronic prices. And also at my home Goodwill bins, you can buy a box of cables for their weight, which is going to get you those cables a lot cheaper than you're going to get them at $1 a piece. So that's, you know, there's some positives and some negatives there. But I don't know, maybe it's different. Maybe they just charge by weight for the small ones. And if you find like a really big extension cord, maybe you get that for $1. I don't know. Here you can see they're charging $1 for the heavier linens, and then toys and stuffed animals that are under 12 inches are 50 cents. If they're bigger, they're $1. And I guess just other toys in general are 50 cents a piece, which means this bins isn't doing a whole lot of stuff per pound. This is very interesting to me because all the other Goodwill bins that I've ever been to, it's a per pound kind of thing. So these Nerf guns that I bought, I think she actually gave them to me for $1 a piece, which is great because at my home Goodwill bins, I would have spent quite a bit more on those paying for them by weight. So here's another positive for this store. Up next, $1.75 per pound for apparel. That's really interesting. I guess that means clothes, and that's quite expensive. We pay $1.39 per pound for clothes at our home Goodwill bins. So this is probably a bit of a negative for this store for me, but it is interesting to see the differences. And here's a whole list of prices. Books, tapes, CDs. You're paying $1 each for hardback book. Paperback books are 50 cents each. Magazines are 25 cents each. DVDs, CDs, VHS are 50 cents each. And then records and cassettes are 50 cents a piece. And I find these prices to be kind of all over the place because at my home Goodwill bins, hardbacks I believe are 50 cents. Paperbacks are a quarter, so considerably cheaper. Magazines 25 cents each. That sounds right. DVDs, CDs, VHS 50 cents. That's probably right, though they might be a quarter at my home bins. Can't remember. And then records and cassettes, 50 cents each. That's pretty normal probably for a record at the Goodwill bins. But I don't know. These prices were very interesting to me. Some familiar, some not. Also, video games are not individually listed on here, which is good because if they were, they'd probably be like $3. But I'm guessing that they're going to be 50 cents a piece because they usually just charge whatever they charge for DVDs for the video games in this situation. And lastly, we've got prices for shoes and accessories. And this was interesting too. $2 for shoes and purses and accessories from $1. That's those are some really vague terms there. The from on that sign just means they're pretty much going to charge whatever they feel like, and that's kind of a bummer, but I doubt they're too strict on that. They're probably charging $2 on most shoes. And the last thing to note is how this sign is hanging from the ceiling. This is something else I found very interesting. Though they do have such a large number of prices, more prices than I've ever seen in a Goodwill bins, they don't have those prices hanging in any one place. You've got to look all over this place to figure out what the price is on each individual item. And that was really interesting to me. But that's everything. Let's go back to the game room and we'll talk about everything that we bought today. All right, guys. I'm super excited about everything that we bought. I bought a giant stack of games and some other miscellaneous, and Hannah bought some clothes. So let's go through my miscellaneous, then we'll do Hannah's clothes, and then we'll talk about the video games. So as far as miscellaneous goes, behold, my stuff. I bought 2 Nerf rival guns. This one needs repairs. This one's good to go. I used to make a pretty good killing reselling Nerf guns. I've talked about it a little bit on the channel, and I planned on throwing a little bit of that kind of resell thing into these videos as time went on. We were actually going to start doing that a couple weeks ago before we had to leave immediately for this trip that we just went on. But I'm very happy to come back with those because those sell really well. So I'll be able to sell those for a few pennies and take those pennies and buy some video games with them. So definitely look forward to that. I also got another handful of Nerf miscellaneous, 2 clips, and then a barrel. And this barrel is to a very specific gun. It's one of the best-selling Nerf guns, which it pretty much is one of the best sellers because Adam Savage over on Adam Savage's Tested painted one of these bad boys once, and ever since I've been able to sell every one of them that I've ever found because people want to paint this gun as well. It's a really cool video. If you don't know about Adam Savage, I can't imagine how you would know about my channel and not that one. But go find that channel because it is days and years and months worth of entertainment, and it's great. And the last bit of miscellaneous that I got was this posable Mario. I don't know what he's from, but he's awesome, and he's going right on my shelf of Mario toys. That's all my miscellaneous. What did you get?
I got some clothes.
Of course you did.
I only got 3 things. It was pretty picked over by the time we got there, and they weren't rotating fast, so I picked up some army pants. They're a staple. A little vintage dress. And a shirt that I probably shouldn't have bought because it's really dirty, but I loved it. So.
But you loved it. You know what you sound like? You sound like me with Wii Fit. I've got some sort of cross wire in my brain, and I just can't leave a Wii Fit game on a shelf, and I keep buying it because I love it. That's what you sound like. But we've bought, how many pairs of cargo pants did we buy on the road?
2 or 3.
2 or 3. If somehow this is your first video of ours that you've watched, we resell clothing, and we do leave the links below to where we sell those at. If you want to go check that kind of thing out, we're not asking you to buy anything. We've got plenty of people over on these apps that buy clothes from us. But it is a pretty cool thing to look at, and we sell a ton of those cargo pants. And I mean, we can't buy them fast enough. We sell them. But let's move on to my video games. I've never been so happy about a stack of video games in my life. Everything here is super playable. And let's start with active, personal trainer. Okay, everything else here is super playable. This was actually the only game that I found in the bin side of the... Throwing video games at Hannah. This was the only game that I bought in the bin side of the store. There was another guy that was definitely grabbing up every DVD and CD that came into the place, and I'm sure he probably left with a few more games, but this is the only one I got. But thank God this was one of those rare Goodwill bins that was attached to a regular store because every single one of these games was in the lockbox, and every single one of them was $3. So I spent a little bit here. This is like $50 worth of games, but every game in here I think is playable. So as I run through these games, you guys definitely comment below if you see one that you definitely think that I should play. Because I've got a vague memory of 1 or 2 of them that I definitely played when I was younger. But otherwise, I haven't played almost any of these games. So let's run through them real quick. Ghost Recon, Island Thunder for the original Xbox. Ghost Recon 2, original Xbox. Splinter Cell, Double Agent for the original Xbox. Splinter Cell Stealth Action Redefined for the original Xbox. And a Platinum Hits edition to boot. Headhunter for the PlayStation 2, and this one just made me giggle because doesn't that look like Edward Snowden? Does anyone else think so? It looks, and if this is like a CIA spy game, that's gonna be extra funny. And then I got not 1, not 2. Let me find the other one. But 3 Tenchu games, and this is another series I have super vague memories of playing when I was younger, but I don't remember much about it otherwise. Tenchu Fatal Shadows for PS2. And then Tenchu Return from Darkness for the original Xbox. And then Tenchu Wrath of Heaven for the PlayStation 2. And then not 1 but 2 Max Payne games. Max Payne for the PlayStation 2 Greatest Hits. And then Max Payne 2 The Fall of Max Payne for the original Xbox. Doesn't this just seem like one person must have donated their entire collection? That's what this feels like, because these games are all like in the same vein. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines for PlayStation 2. That's so cool. And this game, oh my god. Predator, Concrete Jungle for the original Xbox. Gotta play that. Red Dead Revolver. Love me some Rockstar games. We'll be playing this. I have a super vague memory of maybe playing that once or twice. Here's a game that I wanted to say I'm surprised exists, but I'm not surprised this exists. I'm surprised I didn't know about it. I'm a huge Matrix fan, and I remember playing the original Matrix game thoroughly, but I didn't know there was another one. Matrix, Path of Neo. I'll be putting this in this week just to see what's up there. See if it's anything like the original one. Siphon Filter, the Omega Strain. This was extra special to me because I'm obsessed with these games that come in a cardboard sleeve. Very, very happy about that. And that's also very interesting. That cover there is so dark, and then the actual cover is very light. Interesting. And then last and certainly not least, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. What? All of that in one store. If that happened every day, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably be out of money. This is my favorite stack of games I've ever found. Guys, leave us a comment below. Let us know what your favorite thing that we bought today was. Was it the Mario? Was it the... I don't know. I guess somebody might be pretty happy with... Actually, leave a comment below. Let us know what your least favorite thing that we got today was. It's probably this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Listen, if you're not getting enough from these videos, if we're not scratching that thrifty video gamey itch enough for you, there's a way to get more, and it will cost you nothing. Join our Discord. Our Discord is this chat place where we have different sections for different things to chat about. You got people sharing memes over there. You got people showing pictures of their cats. But most importantly, most pertinent to the situation, people are over there sharing their thrift hauls. Whenever somebody finds a haul like this, they post a picture in the appropriate section. And I'll tell you what, there's a couple dudes over there that are they're giving old Tendo a run for his money. They're finding some great stuff, but I love seeing it. My favorite part of the day is when you guys comment on these videos, and then when you run over to the Discord and show me the stuff that you've got. So do that if that sounds interesting to you guys. And also, before you leave, give us a little follow on the old Twitch. The old Twitch is where we're streaming these video games that we bring home. But it's also another really good chance to come chat with us about video games. Really a little bit more face-to-face than even in the Discord. We'll be there playing games, and in real time you can say, hey, Tendo, what's your favorite video game? Hey, Patrick, what's wrong with you? And we'll answer those questions. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please hit that like and subscribe button before you go, and hit that little bell notification so that when we post videos like this in the future, you'll get a notification and you can come and hang out with us then. And until then, guys, peace out.